Here we are for our podcast, EBW 2020, and I'm very, very fortunate to be sitting here with Lauren Flanagan, who I just met for the first time 12 hours ago, probably. And you just are a really, really, like I would call you Chief Inspirational Officer. Because there we are sitting at a conference outside a hotel on the Riverwalk, and you ignited a whole group of women sitting there having cocktails to share their wishes, their dreams, and say it out loud. Where does that come from?
I just think that every moment of my life and everyone's life is precious. I've had 3 near-death experiences. I watched my brother go from in a very long illness for 7 years and pass away, but he went from angry about it to completely at peace and completely full of love. And those things have changed my whole life. The hardships I had physically and losing my dearest friend just put to me what matters. And I just feel every moment so precious that one of my roles and what I try to do is encourage other people to feel the moment as precious, that time is our most valuable asset. It's like, what are we going to do with this time? Even now, what are you and I going to do in this moment that's going to make an impact?
I watched you work the room, and one after another, myself included.
I got you to dance.
Yeah, you pull people out of their comfort zone.
You were not happy, but you danced with me.
But that's part of the magic of what I witnessed you doing. You know, people are coming into this event, this organization, or anywhere they do this, and they have that shell up, that reserve, and they don't show their cards. And you pulled every one of those people out of their comfort zone in about a 30-minute period. You had, what was it, 20 people out there?
Wow.
Changed. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, when you open your heart, the mind follows. So you got to start with opening your heart. But how do you do that? You have to be vulnerable. And how do you get vulnerable? You get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible dancer. Doesn't matter. I'm going to get up there and just move because you know what? Let's make a joyful noise. So if you get people out of their comfort zone and open their heart, magical things happen.
Very true. Now, I don't know the story about your near-death experiences. What happened?
When I was 6 years old, I was hit by a car, a drunk driver, and almost died on the spot. Had a lot of serious internal head injuries, was in a coma. They pulled me out of that. I came through.
Wow.
My mother literally was one of those stories where she helped pull the car off me because she was so, this little child, was kind of crushed under the car. I recovered slowly, and then as I began to recover, they realized I had crushed my left hip and my left foot, and that had sort of been ignored in the, keep the vital signs going. And that began a very long battle to try to come back from that. I wasn't able to walk for a long time, but I finally did. I had the braces and the shoes and the physical therapy, and I gradually threw off all those coils and was able to do my favorite thing, which was to play with anything with a ball and play sports. And then I was going to have one more surgery the doctor wanted me to have to lengthen my Achilles tendon and fuse my ankle because my foot had sort of frozen in a bad position. And in the hospital, I had circulatory problems and got gangrene, and I had to have an amputation. And in the hospital, I caught staph, which today you'd probably say is MRSA because the antibiotics couldn't stop it.
Okay.
So I was very, very, very sick from that. Again, I finally got over that, but that was a tough one. And then later, when I was 19, I had to have another surgery, and it seems like whenever I have a surgery, I get staph infection. And I got that again, and this time it was systemic, it was very serious. I was on for a year, all these antibiotics, and I was starting to fail. Hair is coming out in clumps, everything. And that's when I said, you know what? I'm going to be the expert on my health. This medicine that they're giving me, I believe, is killing me. It's weakening my body to take so much broad-spectrum antibiotic. It's not working. I'm really sick. I'm going to stop it. And I went to a holistic person who helped me figure out things about immune and how to strengthen it. And the doctor said, "You're going to die if you stop that." I said, "Well, I'm going to die if I keep doing it." And so I was able to recover from that, and that was a huge lesson for me to take control of my own health. And then my last near death was I was riding with my mother in a car, and the guy cut in front of us, she had to hit the brakes, and the guy behind her was an 80-year-old, had a heart attack, never hit the brakes, slammed into us, and
Wow.
we had to get pulled out of jaws of life, but made it. So I made it through all those. So
You're meant to be here.
so I'm meant to be here. I've got a mission, you know. So that's why I said those things. You just realize your life is precious. It's
Yeah.
almost taken away from you a few times. No fault of your own, right? And so what am I going to do with it?
Wow. So that life is precious was instilled in you very early on.
Correct.
Yeah, it takes a lot of people, you get older and then they neglect their health and then it's, a little too late. You've always had this.
I realized very early, we're not our body. One of the really powerful learnings for me was actually some of the pain I had. So when you lose a limb, you often have residual nerve pain. It's called phantom limb, where you can actually, I can still do it now. I can feel like I'm moving my left toes. I don't have, any leg there. But I can feel it. Those nerves remember it. They remember a lot of things. And you're just like, wow, what you think is who you are is not who you are. There's really about energy is who you are. Well, what does that mean? And that put me on a quest of what is the essence of our being? And so I was very fortunate to face that at a very young age, have a personal learning that although it was painful, it's the greatest strength that I ever got.
Yeah.
Because I know we are not our bodies, that we are really energy, and that the essence of that energy is love. And that's like such a powerful thing, and I lead with that with everything. But I got that through what other people would say, "Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you." You know what? I'm so fucking glad it happened to me.
Wow. Now we could spend hours going through your resume and everything you've done. You've had more success than most people could ever even dream in your career. And I get the sense that now you're just like, what do I do now to help all these others? You've talked about it a little bit, that I was fortunate to hear. And how do you plan to tackle that? What can you do your best to share everything you've learned with people globally?
Well, I feel that everything I've done in my life has prepared me for what I'm doing now, which is really to help women invest in other women-led tech companies to create their own solutions for capital access and to create great companies and products in the world. And I've really been on a mission for that for the last, 15 years. I do it in nonprofits I'm involved in. I do it through my venture funds. They're all women investing in women-led tech companies. One of the things I'm really proud of is my first fund, Phenomenelle Angels. We funded a company, and the CEO and the CTO there, or COO there, both invested in my second fund. So that's really the vision of the full circle, to make somebody successful, then they pay it forward and help someone else and serve as role models to girls and women around the world. I do a lot of nonprofit time between empowering 1 billion women by 2020. I'm on the board of Springboard, which is the most successful accelerator for women. So I've just kind of taken what I've learned as an entrepreneur, as a strategic advisor, and in the funding world, and I'm trying to bring that together to help people figure out how to get the right money and the right partners and the right solutions they need to fulfill their business and global impact dreams.
I'm curious, Lauren, are women reserved and very reserved in asking for the capital?
Yes, I think, well, capital's not always the solution to every problem. I mean, sometimes it's overrated to go out and get a lot of money. That might not be what you need. There's always money. If that's all you needed, you'd have it. So there's usually some other thing that's stopping you. And capital might not be, a lot of capital might not be needed for everybody's business. It depends on the type of business. Women are definitely more conservative investors and tend not to take risks in doing things like investing in a venture capital or alternative class. But most women who have a certain amount of wealth, who are an accredited investor, they have some advisor who's got them in this thing called alternatives. And usually we don't know what it is, and it's probably not performing very well. So I always say, why don't you take what's in your alternatives and put it into something you can get your hands around? helping other women-led tech companies create success and get a return out of it. And if you don't want that money for your own purpose, then keep paying it forward in either philanthropy or reinvesting. And that creates an ecosystem of jobs and opportunities, because once you open the door to women investing in other women, there's no problem. We all know tons of people starting companies. You talk to a lot of venture capitalists, they'll say, I don't just see women starting companies. Women are starting like 45% of all businesses. And they're usually as successful, if not more successful, than male-led businesses. So there's tons of them out there, and they all need capital. And so if we, who control the wealth, the women, pool our money, we can be part of that solution.
I'm very curious, over the span of your career, was there ever a time where you're like, oh, I've screwed it all up and it's over?
Oh, all the time. I mean, somebody came up to me today, in fact, Allie Brown, she goes, you're the money Buddha. Or she said, well, you're the money Yoda or the money Buddha. She said, they're both kind of lumpy, so it might not be too flattering. But I said, oh, it's all right, I get your point. But I always say the only reason I have that wisdom is for all the mistakes I made. I have a lot of scar tissue, so since I've gotten it, I can loan you mine so you don't have to grow your own.
I like that. I like that a lot. And now, I do want to know where you and Ingrid connected on the EBW 2020 and what that means to you, because there's something special there. Every time I turn around, you and Sharon and Ingrid are hugging. What's going on there?
So I first met Ingrid about 6 years ago as part of the Dell Women Entrepreneurs Summit in Rio. And we actually met in the bar over scotch. She came up to me and she said, cool socks? I said, yeah, I'm a cool person. She goes, so am I, and we clinked glasses. But we just kind of knew. It was that moment and that evening of sharing our dreams. We did the same sort of thing you watched the other night. We talked about our hopes, our dreams. We talked about our fears. We got a bunch of women in that conversation. We ended up going up into Ingrid's room, and it was right on the Bada, right on the, looking the ocean. We took all her furniture out. We put it out on the, her balcony. And so here's all these women up until 4 and 5 in the morning telling and sharing our stories, and we just bonded. And at the end of that evening, we both looked at each other and we're like, we're soul sisters forever. If you ever need anything, I'm there. Yeah. So when she wanted to do EBW and she called me, I said, I'm in. What do you need me to do? Wow. And she has that same with Sharon in a different way. I mean, they had a different kind of a bond. But that's part of her magic, is she does make these really intense connections too, and but she keeps them, and she brings those people back into her fold, and she's trying to create a tribe now.
And I mentioned at the very beginning of this that I've watched you just inspire so many people and get them out of their shell. Who does that to you or has done that to you? Who's someone that you look up to in that way that was like, wow, they changed my world?
Well, you know what? I meet somebody who does that for me every day, truly. But the person who first was my inspiration was my grandmother, Lola, who taught me so many things. My mother, I had a little bit older brother who actually did not survive very long into childhood, and he was sick, so my grandmother took care of me. And then my next brother was born, but he did survive, but he had a hard childhood. So I was with my grandmother all the time. And she had a fantastic, amazing story. She's Irish, but I guess she was about half Cherokee. Had an incredible life of poverty. Finally, was in Oklahoma and during the Dust Bowl, and literally had to pack up all her kids on the classic, Grapes of Wrath, wow. Model T. Went into California and picked fruit and survived that way. She was really smart. She had to work in the field, so she did not have a full education, but she took classes at night and got some business instruction. She ended up getting a business AA or degree. And she got herself into a dairy. She knew about money because she always had managed cash, and they needed to hire a new bookkeeper. And of course, she didn't know how to do that, never been trained. But she went in there and she said, oh, I would love to do it exactly the way you want to. So show me exactly how you want me to do it, and I will completely. They said, well, of course I know, but I want to make sure I'm doing it for you exactly the way you want to do it.
That's clever.
So she ended up managing and ended up being a manager of that and got into a lot of other successful businesses, but that's the like fake it till you make it lesson.
I love
which
that.
which is really
I'm
awesome.
using that.
And then she always had me look at nature. She taught me to fish, when I was really young, and I loved to fish. And she always said, Lauren, if you can have a little garden and you can fish, you will never be hungry. You have to, I'm 6 years old. I'm like, okay, I'm never gonna be hungry. I'm gonna get that fish, and then we would go get it and we would cook it. And the things I love to do most is like go fishing and then go cook it or get stuff right out of the garden and make it. And she'd say, look at the birds, they're talking to you. Hear that song? They're singing. What's your song? So those things I got from her, and I still hear her talking to me. I hear her voice.
All right. It's a pleasure talking to you, Lauren, and EBW 2020 is fortunate to have you
Well, thank
on
you.
the team. It means a lot. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much.